And news from the tech world, where after Nokia 3310 refreshing launch in India last month, HMD Global is all set to unveil Nokia 6, Nokia 5 and Nokia 3 Android phones in India today. Well, to recall the Nokia 3, Nokia 5 and Nokia 6 Android smartphones, they were announced globally at MWC 2017 in Barcelona earlier this year. These are the first Nokia smartphones to hit the Indian market since the Lumia series was shut down when Microsoft took over Nokia's mobile business. The prices have not been officially disclosed so far. It's being said that the Nokia 6 price in India will be between Rs 15,000 and 16,000, while Nokia 5 is likely to cost around 12,000 rupees. The Nokia 3, cheapest of the three phones, is expected to cost about 9,000 rupees. Of course, all these prices are completely unofficial at this point, but with the launch just a few hours away, you won't have to wait too long for official release. Well, we are joined by our tech expert, Ankit Tuteja, for more on this. Ankit, get us all these details. How important are these Nokia phones?
Sumit, before I answer your question, I just want to ask you one thing. When was the last time you used a Nokia phone?
Oh, it was way long, maybe 6 years ago or 10 years ago.
But do you remember the signature tune? Na 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 na. You remember it, right?
Of course, yes.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we call the brand recall value. It may have been years or maybe a decade for people to use the Nokia phone, but people still remember the signature tune of Nokia, and that's what we call a strong brand recall value. People might think that Nokia is going to make a late entry to the Android smartphone market, but the fact is that people still want to get their hands on the Android-based Nokia phones, and that's what makes these phones something that people are looking forward to.
But Ankit, looking at the market and looking at competition, Apple is there, Samsung is there, homegrown brands like Micromax, and these all there. So how easier or difficult will it be for Nokia now to come and start selling phones once again?
Sumit, there is no doubt about that Nokia is making a late entry to the otherwise competitive Indian smartphone market, especially where Android is the king, Android is the leader. But the point is, if you look at it this way, in the last few years, companies like Xiaomi, Vivo, Oppo, for that matter even OnePlus, they made inroads into the Indian market, and people in India, they accepted it, they accepted the brand, they accepted their phones. There was a time when people would be reluctant to Chinese smartphone makers, but now there is an acceptance for those brands. So I would say that it's a late entry for Nokia. It's been a decade that Nokia, there was a time when Nokia tied up with Microsoft and they were making Windows-based phones. But people are still interested in trying their hands and in using the Android-based Nokia phones. So I would say, yeah, it's a late entry, but still there is an excitement around it.
And Ankit, you have used the new 3310, which is the latest entry of Nokia into India. Were you impressed by that phone? And also, in your opinion, what should Nokia do to win over the hearts of Indian customers once again?
Sumit, when it comes to phones, or for that matter smartphones, we have come a long way. Like I remember in 2007 when the first smartphone was introduced, like a smartphone in a real sense, that is iPhone. Since then we have come a long way. Talking about the Nokia 3310, the company is solely selling this phone purely on the basis of nostalgia, and people are also excited about the phone. They want to use it as a secondary phone because there is a sense of attachment to that phone. And not only the company, but the buyers are also buying that phone purely because of the nostalgia factor around it. And if you look at the price of the Nokia 3310, it's for 3310. So the model number is 3310 and the price is also 3310. So it's purely on the basis of the nostalgia factor. And talking about the features, it's in a redesigned form. It comes in different colors. It has a color display now. Snake with new graphics is there. But you can't run WhatsApp, which is one of the widely used instant messaging apps. So utility-wise, it doesn't make any sense. But yes, it's about nostalgia at the end of the day. And that's what makes Nokia 3310 one of the important devices today.
And Ankit, what do you think about the pricing? Because for Indian customers, pricing is very important. So what do you think, these phones will be underpriced, overpriced, or as good priced as the other phones are in Indian market?
Okay, so I just want to say one thing here. Nokia is already at a disadvantage because it's making a late entry to the market, and people have already accepted a couple of brands out there in the market. So the company is already at a disadvantage. But what they are doing really good is that they are going to introduce the new handsets at competitive prices. So Nokia 3 is going to be priced somewhere around 10K. Nokia 5 is going to be priced somewhere between 10 and 15K. And talking about the top of the line Nokia 6, it's going to be priced somewhere around 18 or 19K. So the price devices are going to be competitively priced, which might give all these devices, and for that matter HMD Global, which is going to be the new maker of Nokia phones, an edge over other rivals out there in the market.
And Ankit, this is happening at a time Apple is trying to make more and more entry into Indian manufacturing market. Very soon we will see Apple make in India phones in the market. At this time when Nokia doesn't have a make in India phone, we can say that where does it put Nokia?
Okay, so there is no doubt about the fact that Apple is planning to go big in the Indian market. For that matter, they are going to set up a manufacturing facility down south. But the point is, there are two operating systems. One is iOS and one is Android. If you look at the numbers, if you go by the facts, more than 80% of smartphones run on Android. I'm talking about the worldwide figures here. And around 18% of the phones, that is iPhones, that run on iOS. So these are two different operating systems, and there is a totally different audience base for both the operating systems. There is a competition, no doubt about that, but then there is a different audience base for both the operating systems.
And Ankit, given a chance, will you go out and buy Nokia phone yourself?
Absolutely, I would like to get my hands on, and I might end up buying one of the phones, one of the Nokia phones. There are two reasons. First, of course, I have used Nokia for quite some time in the past, and the second reason, I have looked at the videos of the phones, the product videos, and they look really interesting. Talking about the design language, that devices look really slim. They have a smart profile, but it depends how they perform in the real world. So yes, design-wise, I'm already impressed by the looks of the phone. But yeah, there is an event which I'll be going to, and I would like to get my hands on. Soon will be out on WION as well with the verdict of the Nokia phones, that whether it's worth your hard-earned money or not. But yeah, it's totally depend on the performance at the end of the day.
And also one tip from your side, if we ask you, what one suggestion would you like to give Nokia when they're making a comeback into Indian market?
I would say price. I mean, they already are a late entrant to the Indian smartphone market, which is right now the competitive Indian smartphone market. So price is the only front they can play around, because the battleground is already crowded. The only point that can give them an edge over rivals is the price. So the price sensitivity of the Indian customers is something that they need to keep in mind. Because India, at the end of the day, is a price-aggressive market. They want value for money devices. And for the same reason, the sale of iPhones is less than that of Android phones out there in the market. So yeah, the price sensitivity of Indian customer is something that I would like the company to keep it in mind.
And Ankit, at this moment, when Samsung's popularity was coming down earlier because of the Note 7 catching fire, do you think that Nokia is trying to encash that bringing down of popularity of Samsung, because it is the largest smartphone maker? So somewhere is Nokia trying to make inroads into the Indian market when Samsung popularity is we can say that coming down because of that Note 7 fiasco?
Sumit, it's a very basic rule. The loss of a rival is a profit of the other rivals. I mean, if it's my loss, it's someone's profit at the end of the day. Talking about Samsung, the company may have suffered a lot in the last year, or for that matter in the last few months, but the fact is Samsung is still the world market leader. If you go by the facts, if you go by the numbers, Samsung still rules the smartphone market worldwide. So yeah, there is no competition right now between Nokia and Samsung, because Nokia has got a new smartphone maker, which is HMD. The company was founded last year. The company is on the expansion plan, and they are coming to India today. So the point is that there is no competition right now between Samsung and HMD, but you never know how things are going to be in the months to come.
Well, thanks Ankit a lot for getting us all this perspective on Nokia's re-entry into the Indian market. Well, that's all we have today for WION Wallet. For more news and updates, stay tuned to WION.